All right. So tonight's Tech Talk, after a long hiatus from Tech Talks, tonight's Tech Talk is about where to go when the Northern Hemisphere winter is basically over. So where to go next, right? We're seeing most of the resorts in the around the West and then the East have pretty much shut down. There's a few people holding on, but for the most part, things are shutting down. So where do we go? So I'm going to kind of cue us off. I'm going to do a little bit of a screen share and work through all sorts of places. We're going to start with what still exists in North America. So where you still can go to keep the progression going in North America. We're going to move from there to New Zealand because that's kind of the next place the season really starts to kick off. And then from New Zealand, we're going to move into South America and we're going to explore some destinations in Chile and Argentina. And if we have time, we're even going to talk a little bit about a cool spot in China where when it's the total off season, it's October and nobody's open. There's a really great spot in China that you can still keep the training going, keep your snow self sliding. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share right here when I can find it. Oh my gosh, I know this is silly. My screen share thing is not popping up. Oh, there it is. Boom. Okay. So you guys should all see a big image of a snowboarder flying in the air here at, at Mount Hood. Yep. And so the most obvious place in the North America is Mount Hood up in Oregon. I've been going to Mount Hood since 2003 in the summer. And every year they've had snow, and every year they've had a great park and a great program. Sometimes that snow level is higher, sometimes it's lower, but I've never had a year where it totally got skunked. And so it's a really reliable place to go snowboarding or skiing in the summer. And that's kind of my big take. CMAC, Eric, what do you guys think is important that people should know about Mount Hood?
Ski Mac, go ahead.
I'm thinking. To me or in general?
Everything.
I love the vibe of government camp. I've been going every year since I think 2013 or something like that. And then the first time I went was early 2000s for a couple times. And I just fell in love with that place. Having a place to get on snow in June, July into August, it's very unique. It's a great setup. It doesn't have everything, but man, it is the best place in the summer in North America to work on your skiing or riding or anything on snow. I mean,
yeah, I think one of the things that I really love about it is that the whole environment is just based around progression. You go up there and it's different than vacationers going for a ski holiday, right?
yes.
Everybody up there is in some way trying to push their own personal best. And that to me is like one of my driving factors that brings me back to Hood every summer is that I get to be part of that experience and part of that culture. And I get better. Every summer I go, I get better.
And to piggyback on that, sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
this is one of those things that, and when I tell people about it, and first of all, they don't even know that exists, which is shocking to me.
Yeah.
People at
Yeah.
resorts, I tell them, I go snowboarding in June, July. They're like, where? I'm like, in Oregon. They're like, how? So the just the concept of being able to be in a glacier, right, in a volcano glacier in June and July and be able to snowboard and ski, I think it's mind-boggling to a lot of people that I tell. But also the piggyback, like I was saying before, like everyone who's there loves skiing and snowboarding and loves, like genuinely loves it, and then they're willing to get better, whether it's turning, whether it's going off a jump or box or progressing in crazy tricks. And I think that's cool. Like everybody's there for that ride mindset. Like you said, it's not just a holiday. I'm there to get better and I want to be around people that are the same mindset. I think that's one of the best things.
Yeah, I think that this summer though, at Hood, some things to keep in mind for this summer if you're planning to travel to Hood. The best time to go is going to be pretty much May through middle of July. So given this year's snowpack, it's looking really good. For the month of May, the lower mountain is still operating in the month of May, not all the way down to the bottom, but down to the bottom of Storm and Norman, which is kind of their biggest park run. And then kind of up from there all the way to the Palmer is operating right now. So it's over, I think it's around 3,000 feet of vertical or something from the bottom of that to the top, which is pretty impressive. And then as the mountain starts to melt out, it'll slowly move up the hill. So you'll go down from 3,000 feet of vertical to 2,000 feet of vertical, and you'll pretty much stay there. It'll pretty much stay there until the middle of July. And so the FTC, this picture that I have that it's shown on the screen right here, the FTC is a specialized training park. So it has rope tows and all sorts of good stuff. So for quick laps in the park, there's also a chairlift too, and some open groomer runs and a lot of ski racers in their gates. But the coolest thing about it is there's features of every size, from a 3-foot jump to a, I don't know, 60-foot jump, something huge, and everything in between. So if you're looking to train in freestyle or just want to go out and get some summer turns, this is definitely a place to consider. One thing I'd say with Mount Hood before I move on is that when it comes to lodging, government camp can be pretty expensive, and Mount Hood isn't part of Icon or Epic. And so you have to buy tickets each day you go up. And the FTC ticket right now is going to run you $150, and that starts on the 15th of June. And then that's a daily ticket. And then a regular lift ticket's $124, I think. And lodging, you definitely want to, if you're planning a trip to Hood, you want to start looking at lodging now because it's going to be busy. May, though, if you go up in May, they have a spring pass for $219. And in May, there's lodging. It's easy to get lodging. And it's absolutely beautiful, and there's barely anybody on the hill. It's the best place to be in May. I would take it over Mammoth. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on from that. Any questions about Mount Hood before I move on? Vanessa, Sam, Ernest?
I just can't wait for FFS.
Yeah, the session that Vanessa's talking about is we run a session every year at the very end of the summer. So the very last week of the FTC, the Freestyle Training Center, we run a session. We also run sessions before that, but that's our final session at Hood. And it's pretty special. Most people that show up there are people that have already been to Hood before, or are familiar with the terrain. And I don't know if you want to know more about it. Talk to Vanessa, talk to me, but it's a really special session. Anything you want to add, Eric, before I move on?
No, yeah, I mean, excited that, there's going to be a good snowpack, and excited that we have sessions out. Yeah. So, I mean, just experiencing, snowboarding in mid-June, July, and in America, it's kind of unique and special. So love it.
Gosh, I could spend a whole hour talking about Mount Hood. There's so much I want to say, but I got to move on. So that as far as other North America destinations, the next one I pulled up right here is American Dream. It's in Jersey, and it's the only indoor snow dome in the US. And so they're open year round. This right here is just a clip of like their webcam. I don't know if I play it, if you'll be able to see it, but it's a pretty small spot. It is inside, so it is going to be cold. Cool thing here is they do have a park, and so little features, but they do have a park, and they do have a little bit of an open slope, as you can see. I wish I could say I'd been there myself. I've been to other snow domes, but I haven't been to this one. But if you're looking for another place in North America, no visa, no passport required, this is a good spot for some turns. And as far as I know, it's not very expensive either. Back from that, we have some indoor opportunities in North America. So one that I really want to highlight, because this is a good friend of mine and he's part of our progression sessions community, is Freeslope. The fellow that runs it goes by the name of Jakin. And Jakin has this in Fremont, California. So it's pretty close. If you live in the Bay Area, it's an easy trip. And he basically has a warehouse there where he's built some dry slopes. So they call this a dry slope. It's basically plastic things you can slide on. He sets up a jump. He sets up a box. And it's a pretty cool place if you just want to get some reps in and just remember what it feels like to be on your snowboard, or you want to dial in like some complex ground tricks or some complex tricks on a box, it's a great place to go. And if you've never hit a box before, you've never hit a jump before, you shouldn't be scared to go here. Like it's such a wonderful spot to learn, and you can just get rep after rep after rep. I don't know, as Eric or CMAC or if anybody else in the call has ever trained on dry slope, has any comments on that.
Well, one thing I would say that I haven't personally, but I think what matches this dry slope with the indoor and with Mount Hood, as you mentioned it, right? Repetition. I think the having the ability to repeat and do something over and over and over in a small amount of time, I think that's like the biggest benefit of them all, even though they're all different, right? One's natural snow, one's man-made, and one's plastic. But
Yeah.
repetition, I think it's like the key word about all three of them. That's all I want to say about that.
Yeah, no, I think this. Oh, go ahead.
And I want to add to this is great. I've been looking into where to go to do the dry slopes that are set up on actual ski snowboard runs, right? So there's a bunch in Japan, there's some in China, and there's a bunch of Europe, indoor, outdoor. And unfortunately, I see that as the future of snow sports. And this is not enough for me. I actually would want somewhere where I can take even if it's just a Poma, to go up several hundred feet and get to ride. And I might do that this summer also.
Yeah, I think
in Japan.
I know Jaken's got big plans for it. And
Good.
this is the starting point. He's starting somewhere, and this is where he's starting. It started in his backyard,
Yes.
and now he has a warehouse, and he's getting a bigger warehouse. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Very cool.
But yeah, that repetition too, just to go back to Mount Hood, one of the cool things there is that airbag. We talk about being able to repeat a trick. Oh my gosh, being able to repeat a trick on an airbag is amazing. Another place that you can repeat tricks is Woodward, and the closest one to us is Woodward Tahoe. If you're not familiar with Woodward Tahoe, during the summer they don't have any on-snow stuff, but they do have a bunch of trampolines, and they do have what's called roller boards. And so you can actually go down a jump. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of that. Let's see if it shows me anything here. It does not, which is kind of funny.
I have one.
Right here. You have one? You have a roller board?
Yeah, of myself.
Oh, no way. Cool, cool. Do you want to share it? I'll stop sharing and you can share, maybe. I don't know.
I'll just post in the chat.
Okay. Perfect. But this is a pretty cool place. I know if you want to learn how to get upside down, I started on snow, but I refined them on trampolines, and I refined that process on a rollerboard into a foam pit. And so going up to Woodward is a pretty cool place, especially if you're thinking freestyle goals. It's a pretty cool place to start. But that's my biggest thing for North America. That's kind of what I have. I've got Hood. I've got Big Snow, American Dream in Jersey. I've got Dry Slope in Fremont, and then Woodward up in Tahoe and Copper and a lot of other places. But moving on from there, I think I'm going to move on to New Zealand. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go, New Zealand.
Let's
Oh my gosh,
go.
it's exciting because it's winter
Go,
again.
mate. Let's go, man.
Okay, so I'm moving on to New Zealand right here. What I did is I posted up a map. So this is kind of cool. One of my favorite websites to go to explore ski areas is this website called powderhounds.com. And I am not an affiliate with these guys. They don't even know who I am. But it's a great place to explore if you want to like learn about firsthand accounts, what mountains are like, what they are. They've got write-ups on everywhere. And so what this is this is a map that they've made of New Zealand with marking all the different ski areas. And if you look at it, this is the South Island. So there's a big mountain range that runs right down the center of the South Island. And in there, you can see that there's kind of a conglomerate of resorts right here. And there's a few outlining ones, some bigger ones. How big the mountain is how big the ski area is kind of in relationship. So the bigger ones are right here. If you can tell, bigger mountains there, smaller mountains there. Cool thing about the South Island of New Zealand is it's covered not only in kind of your standard ski areas, but it's also covered in a bunch of we call club fields. And so a club field would be like one lift and a rope tow somewhere super remote where maybe you even have to hike in to get to that lift and that rope tow. Usually has a lodge that you can stay at that's like bunk beds and pretty rustic, but it's an experience I've never had anywhere else. It's pretty cool. And so I've toured up and down the South Island, but we're going to focus on kind of the lowest hanging fruit, the easiest places to get to. So we picked 3 resorts and they're right here. They're all based right next to each other. And the 3 resorts we picked are Treble Cone, Cardrona, and I believe this is Remarkables right here. So Treble Cone, Cardrona, and Remarkables. And they're kind of in between the 2 towns of Queenstown and Wanaka. And so I'm going to kind of go through, and I'm really going to lean on Eric and CMAC to talk more about this because they've been in New Zealand a lot. It's been a while since I've been there, and you guys have been there more recently. So starting with Cardrona, anybody want to take Cardrona?
Yeah, I'll take Cardrona. I think it's definitely a cool spot. The vibes of just having Lake Wanaka around, and if you've ever been to Wanaka, you understand. If you haven't, I'm sure you could look it up and see all the amazing pictures. Just a cool, like, awesome mountain town, and Cardrona's like maybe 20-30 minutes away from the town. And one thing I do love about Cardrona, it's one of the most impressive park places I've been to in the Southern Hemisphere in general, and even some resorts in the U.S. as well. Like they have, if you're looking into some park, if you're looking into some like wide open carving turns, that's kind of like where the place is going to be at. From small jumps to medium jumps to extra large like competition jumps, like Cardrona has it, and they build their parks pretty well. And having a park background and been riding park in a lot of places around the world, still on top of my head is like one of the best places I've been to. So definitely a key mountain if you wanna if your focus is on that.
Yeah, I second that.
I worked there. I spent a season working there ages ago. And one of the things that I remembered too was their investment in parks, right? So like if it didn't snow for a month, they still blew snow. They made sure those parks were good as long as the weather was good enough for you to get up there. And they always had a half pipe too. There's always a half pipe. And I thought that's like, when I think about mountain investment, I don't see that very often. So that was pretty cool. Anything else you want to say on to Cardrona before I move on?
They expanded. They bought this. I forgot what it's called, but they added it used to be just backcountry or helicopter skiing. Forgot what that zone is called, but they expanded. So they're bigger now.
Oh, awesome. Bigger than this map.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I think it is because I've ridden all these, so that I've been here since these lifts existed.
Yeah,
so I'm sure it's probably over here or something like that.
So it's Looker's left further. So I don't know how old this map is. It's called. Yeah, I don't remember, but they bought a bunch of acreages over there, and they put a lift there. And I think that started. Who went to New Zealand last year? Eric, did you go last year?
Yes.
Wasn't that? It's called like something.
Can't quite recall the name.
Okay, but
let's not get stuck on it. Let's not get stuck.
Yeah.
Right.
Biggest thing about Cardrona, it is the biggest ski area in New Zealand. And so if you're looking at where you want to go, it's the biggest ski area in New Zealand. However, it is not part of any of the collective passes. So it's not Icon. It's not Epic. It's on its own.
Oh, good.
And so I'm going to move on to Treble Cone, which actually I'm going to move on to Remarkables first. So I want to hit Remarkables. Now, Remarkables is just outside of Queenstown. So there's kind of 2 big towns if you think about it. There's Wanaka and there's Queenstown. And if you're coming in internationally, you're most likely going to fly into Queenstown. And then from Queenstown, you're going to rent a car and drive to Wanaka or take a shuttle if you're going to stay in Wanaka, or you're going to stay in Queenstown. Remarkables is just outside of Queenstown. One of the things that makes Remarkables sort of nice is that a lot of the ski areas in New Zealand have dirt roads that go all the way up to the ski area. Most of them do. And they're rumbly, tumbly, rocky roads. And Remarkables, most of the way up, that road's paved, which may sound like a pretty common luxury out here in the West. but that's a real luxury out in New Zealand. Another cool thing about Remarkables is it has all sorts of terrain. So it's a considerably smaller than Cardrona, but it has super steep terrain and some amazing parks. It's got one of the Burton Stash parks, which is if you want to ride over a granite roof and throw sparks with your snowboard, it's pretty cool. You can, and it's covered in parrots that want to eat your French fries. But Remarkables is a great location if you're going to base yourself out of Queenstown. And it's also on the Epic Pass. So if you purchased an Epic Pass, you got days at Remarkables. There's also another resort there.
I think it's Icon. Isn't it Icon?
Oh, no, it's Icon. You're right. I'm sorry.
Icon.
It's Icon. It's Icon.
Yeah, it's part of
Icon.
NZ Ski, which is Remarkables and Mount Hutt. And it's part of NZ Ski, so I think it's Icon. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's Remarkables, Mount Hutt, and Coronet Peak. And Coronet Peak and Remarkables are right next to each other. I don't have an image of Coronet Peak up here, but Coronet Peak, if you want to go rip carve turns and just have wide open, awesome, flowy groomers to rip carve turns, it's even better than Cardrona. It's the spot, and it's so close to Queenstown. It's so easy to get to. Remarkables, it's a little bit more kind of smaller, like not smaller runs, but steeper, more compact runs, I guess.
Yeah,
but if you want to ride aggressive terrain, or if you want to ride some really cool park that's really creative, then Remarkables is your spot. Anything you'd want to add to that, Eric or CMAC? No?
Dead on. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any questions from the group down here about Remarkables? Vanessa, Sam, Ernest, any questions? No. Okay, we're moving on. We are moving on. So the other one, this is CMAC's personal favorite in New Zealand. I know he can't wait to talk
I
about
enjoy
it.
it too. I enjoy it too.
He is going. Here it is, Treble Cone. So CMAC, tell us everything we need to know about Treble Cone.
Anytime somebody asks me what's your favorite resort, I said, well, if we're talking about the Southern Hemisphere, it's Treble Cone because with 2 lifts, it has really, really incredible steep terrain. There is no beginner terrain except at the very bottom. The park is a joke, but man, when there's snow, it's a real. Yeah, when there is snow, it is a really serious ski hill. It's very cool.
Yeah, I'll second that. Especially this zone right here. Zone right here with all these rocks and all this stuff. It looks like it's way downhill, but it's not. It's not that hard to get from there to there.
Yeah.
The map doesn't quite do it justice, but this terrain right here is world-class free riding terrain. And similar to what CMAX said, when there's snow, when there's good snow, it can be some of the best riding or skiing of your life. The view also is
my God,
the best views of your entire life. And I would pitch that against any view in Tahoe, because that view
100%.
of Lake Wanaka is incredible.
Yeah.
100%. Now, if you look at our recent Instagram post with the Tech Talk advertisement talking about Tech Talk of this Tech Talk, you will see Stephanie, our coach, making some turns in Treble Cone, and you can see the actual views in that post.
Yeah.
That was taken in Treble Cone this past season.
It feels like you're on a different planet. The way the colors are, it's amazing.
100%.
Yeah. I think one thing to note about New Zealand before we move on about New Zealand, I want to give you guys the floor too, is that the season in New Zealand can be really, really fickle. And so by fickle, it can be very unpredictable. One of the nice things about New Zealand is if you're thinking about traveling from the Northern Hemisphere to the Southern Hemisphere, the season kicks off a little bit earlier in New Zealand because they make snow. So there is man-made options. And I think, Eric, you were saying it kicks off around July, right? Or early
June, June. Like, honestly, I've worked there and then I've traveled. I've left the US late May to be there in June, and snow is already going off. So, yeah.
And what would you say is prime time in New Zealand? Like prime time
would definitely be like mid-July, if possible, early to mid-July. That's kind of like their high peak, and that's where most resorts get a lot of snow. I mean, obviously it could snow throughout the whole season, but yeah, July, early to mid-July, it's like the high good season.
And so if I was to travel to New Zealand, and so I'm going to book my travel knowing that it's like a pretty unpredictable weather. Can you tell me more about that and kind of what I should plan for?
In what sense? And what time to go, or what to wear,
So
or
like,
what?
yeah, so if I'm going to go in July, right? I'm
Hmm.
going to go in July or I'm going to go in June. I know June's going to be man-made, and I
Right,
know
right.
that
I see what
and
you
I
mean.
know that going up from there, it's gonna. But I do know that the weather is pretty unpredictable. So what would I want to
Yeah.
consider?
Yeah, obviously, like with New Zealand, snow comes with wind. Just something FYI. So it can be windy, it can be snowy. Not necessarily that doesn't make it like you're gonna have powder days, like Japan powder days, but you're gonna have good snow. You're gonna have snow coming from the sky. And like I said, roughly from the years I've worked there, full season from June to October, uh, early to mid July is where you get essentially the most of the snow, and I will book around that time if possible. I mean, it would springtime there is also amazing, like September, mid September, late September. Great spring skiing, snowboarding. But obviously, if you want like middle of the season and back to middle winter, that's definitely around the time I would suggest you book a trip. Yeah,
And would you suggest like to, because in my thought, I would want to plan on a couple of weeks because if I just plan a short
absolutely.
weather window of 5 days, there's a
Yeah.
good chance I might lose 3 of those 5 days.
Once again, touching up on the wind because there is windy. Um, Sometimes most resorts close because it is too windy. It's not safe to operate. So the resort I worked at, it averaged maybe 1 or 2 days a week of closures just because it was too windy. So something to
Mhm.
consider for sure.
Oh, um, any questions about New Zealand from anybody or any final thoughts, CMAC or Eric, before we move on to South America?
When they
You should
close,
go.
do they close everything, or is it just the upper
Yeah,
mountains?
so like basically all the resorts are up on a hill, like Josh was talking about. You have to drive up the mountain, and some resorts are 20-minute drive, some are 40-minute drive. But because it is such an exposed island in the South Pacific, the wind is just too strong and it's unsafe for anybody to be up there. You get blown away, and then it's just also unsafe to drive down the road because you can't see nothing, just snow going across the road. So the chances of you going off the road are pretty high. So out of safety, they will close the whole resort. Not to
Mhm.
derive you from it, but one time the resort was closed for 6 days straight at my resort just because of wind, and it was like 100-mile-per-hour winds every day.
Yeah.
But that's very rare, but it can happen.
What, from my
Thanks.
experience, the cool thing is between Cardrona and TC, Treble Cone, we would know by 6:30 or 7 a.m. whether they're
Right.
opening or not. They make the
Yeah.
call. Boom. They
They make
don't
the call
fiddle
early.
around and wait till
No.
10 and then tell you noon and then it's closed, right?
Yeah,
They decide and you then can do something else that day.
absolutely.
Like sleep
That is
in.
true. Yeah. Like sleeping.
That makes sense. Thanks.
Cool, cool. Any other questions before I move on to South America?
Let's move on.
Okay, we're doing it. So, right here, I'm same thing. I'm back at that Powder Hound site I talked about earlier that I love. I love this website. Um, but right here it shows a map of Argentina and Chile, and basically Patagonia is what we call this. And so, what we're looking at is these are the same thing. These are all marking different ski areas, right? And then there's one way down here. And what this is this is basically this is the southern Andes. And if you were to think about the Rocky Mountains that go all the way into Canada and they go all the way down to the very bottom of Argentina, that's what we're looking at. And so that's where the mountains get big again. To give you guys an idea, the top of this, if we were to compare latitudes, I just learned this. If we were to compare latitudes, this is as far from the equator as San Diego is from the equator. And as we go down, now we're getting closer to like this would be Alaska as it is to the southern equator or the southern pole. And so it's you think about distance, this is really far. This is really, really far from there to there is really far, but it's one big mountain range. And so all the ski areas are centered around that one giant mountain range. And by giant mountain range, it is giant mountain range. And then it changes from like high alpine desert peaks to all the way as you go down to wooded forests and everything in between. This looks a lot like Alaska down here, and this looks a lot like gosh, I don't even know what to compare this to. It has no trees. It's like Nothing. It looks like South America. So the resorts I want to talk about today, we're going to kind of bounce a little bit. We're going to start with Chile and then we're going to go into Argentina. But I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about Tres Valles. So Tres Valles is a combination of 3 resorts, El Colorado, La Parva, and Valle Nevado. And they're all actually connected. So like each resort connects to the other resort. And so you can ride all 3 of them, but they're not on the same ticket. So the kind of the challenge is if you go to Tres Valles, having the various tickets so you can bounce around between ski area to ski area can be kind of a challenge. The cool thing about Tres Valles is that every ski area on its own is big enough for an entire day, if not a week. Can you guys still hear me okay? It said my internet connection was unstable. You got me? Yeah, okay, cool. Cool. So one of the things that I love about Tres Valles, and I think that if I was to say my favorite Southern Hemisphere snowboarding spots, this is it. This is it. You can fly into Santiago, and within an hour and a half of landing and getting your bags and getting a car, you can be snowboarding. Like you can literally be at the mountain in an hour and a half from airport to mountain. And in Santiago, the city itself is incredibly beautiful. The culture's rich. People are warm. I love it. I love it. The cool thing about Tres Valles too is that different than New Zealand is they do get weather. Everything is exposed, but they will open some of the lower lifts. And so they do have some protected zones. So if there is high weather, the hardest thing there is visibility. So when the clouds come in, you can't see anything. Everything shuts down because it's just too dangerous. But most of the time, they'll always have something running. So you won't fully be skunked on a day. You can. It does happen, but it's rare. There's also a village at the base of each ski area. So Valle Nevado has its own village. La Parva has like the biggest and probably the best lodging selection. El Colorado has its own village. And just below that, there's another little town, I guess you could call it, which is Farallones, which is kind of the bottom where everything branches out from. That's a view of Santiago right there from the mountain, which you can see that on a clear day. It's pretty cool. But yeah, the best time to go here is actually after New Zealand. And so New Zealand is July is kind of their prime time, and August is prime time in Chile, especially in these ski areas. So August is prime time. So if you were to roll up, go to New Zealand first, go to Chile next. But there's so much I want to say about Tres Valles, but I want to stop talking and pass it off to you guys. So anything you guys have to say about Tres Valles, El Colorado, La Parva, Nevados, or sorry, Valle Nevado.
I love it down there. My favorite is La Parva. I don't know why, I can't put my finger on it, but it reminds me of Alpine Meadows. Maybe the vibe there, the snow and the layout. Yeah,
my favorite's La Parva too. I second that. El Colorado is close, but I second that.
El Colorado. I mean, if you are into, for example, you want to get your carving better, then El Colorado is the place to go. It has these long, wide runs. All the snowboard teams from around the world come. The U.S. team was there. I'd never seen carving. They carve. It was like a GS course set up for them, and it was just fun to watch. All of them have parks. I think the Colorado one is the best one. I'm not sure. You're a better judge of that. But yeah, all 3 of them together to have the ability to go back and forth between them. Once we figure it out for you, it's like great. Yeah, it's really fun. When the snow is good, it's fantastic. Last year I got lucky. There was like a 2-day storm and it brought snow enough for the rest of the season. It was really good.
I mean, if you could imagine like a Palisades Tahoe next to a Mammoth with like an Alpine Meadows, that's kind of the size of it. Like it's huge. Eric, anything?
And you get to ride a bunch of surface lifts.
Oh, that was the
I
next
know.
thing I was gonna say. Let's
Yeah,
talk about it. Come on.
No,
talk
Elliot.
yeah,
about
like
that.
cool thing about it that pretty much everything connects at the top in one shape or form, and you can ride all three of them, like you were saying, and it's pretty good. And yeah, the surface lifts, there's so many pull mud lifts and T-bars, and yeah, it gets fun. It gets really fun.
Yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind if you are going to South America. And this is more true for Chile than it is for some of the spots in Argentina that I'll talk about.
Hmm.
But in Chile, if you want to ride in Chile, or ski in Chile, surface lifts are a must. So T-bars, pommel lifts, they are a must. Do chairlifts exist? 100% chairlifts are there. But because it's so exposed and because the wind is what it is, T-bars and pommel lifts operate a lot better in inclement weather than chairlifts do. And so in order to keep their mountain going, oftentimes to access snow, the safest and most reliable way is going to be a T-bar versus a chairlift. So that's why they're there. It's not a money
And
thing.
they're
It's not anything like that. It's just literally it's easier to access.
and on average they're faster than the
Um,
chairlift that goes parallel next to them.
They are. They are
they
pretty
are
quick.
faster. Yeah. Yeah. And the food's incredible. And so Tres Valles, as far as Chile goes, it is the easiest, lowest hanging fruit, and it delivers every time. So if you're looking for a Chile vacation and you've only got a week, go to Tres Valles for a week.
Yeah.
The next one I want to talk about, though, is something that CMAC and I did. And this was one of my favorite spots that I've ever been to in my life. Not with these two skiers doing their thing, but see if I can get it. This is Corralco. So that's Corralco. And if any of you guys have ever been to Mount Bachelor, it's sort of like Mount Bachelor in a way. It's one big volcano, and it's you can ride kind of one side of it, but if you're going backcountry, you can ride all 360 degrees. There's no reason to do that. You could, but I had probably one of the best runs, if not the best run of my life on this mountain. One of the things that makes Corralco so special is it's far. It's hard to get to. I'll show it to you on the map. So Corralco is, well, essentially down here. That's Corralco, and that's Tres Valles. So pretty far away from each other, about 8 hours from Santiago. But Corralco, it's on a black sand volcano. So you get down to the certain part of Patagonia, Chilean Patagonia, and a lot of the volcanoes are all black sand. So like there's not a whole lot of vegetation. There's not a lot of trees. There's just sand. And so it doesn't take that much snow to cover everything and make everything rideable. So there's no big rock outcroppings. There's not like that. It's like just beautiful, smooth, just pitches. And literally there's nothing, I've never ridden anything else like it. So CMAC, anything you want to add to Corralco?
It's kind of wild. It's not super developed, which makes it really fun. You don't have like McDonald's and, fast food everywhere. It's like one lodge. The town is really cute. We had a great stay at that lodge. Remember, she did our laundry and stuff like that. It was like, and you drive out towards the mountain, and they still use a lot of wood for heating. So there's like this smoke cloud. I mean, there's pollution, but it goes away, and it's slower. It's even slower than any of these other places I've been to in Chile. It's fun. It's really fun. And they're still trying to develop it. I mean, show them, the highest lift was only like what? Half
Yeah,
the
the
way
highest lift got you to about right there where my cursor is.
Yeah.
You can't see it because it's on the back side of this. So the lifts kind of stretch out outside of the view of this picture, but it kind of gets you up to about here. And then from there, you can traverse into this bowl and get this entire bowl down to that lift, which is we're talking thousands and feet of vertical. It's incredible. But to get there, it's one lift, two lift, three lift. One of those is a surface lift. And then you're up here. You can also hike to the peak, and you can ride down from the peak too. That is like that you have to have crampons. That is mountaineering. It's easier mountaineering, but it is mountaineering where you need buddies, crampons, and ropes. just to maintain safety. But you can go all the way up to the peak and ride down, and it's a pretty well-trodden path. But yeah, it's cool. Any questions before I move on to Argentina about Chile? You guys can ask any questions about other ski areas you've heard of, but anything before I move on to Argentina? No. Okay. So Ernest, Vanessa, nothing left. Let's keep going. So first place I want to talk about in Argentina is their powerhouse, their biggest ski area, Cerro Catedral. Cerro Catedral. Argentina, if you look at it on the map right here, I'm going to show you where their resorts are. So on the map, the Argentine resorts are this southern section right here. So like this is Chilean or Argentinian Patagonia. So pretty much their resorts start here. And the area that I'm talking about is Bariloche. This is kind of ground zero for snow sports in Argentina. There are other ski areas. There's about 3 of them that come out of Bariloche that are worth mentioning. And then there's also up here, you can go a little higher, and there's
Las Leñas.
Oh gosh, what is it called?
Las Leñas.
Las Leñas.
Leñas,
There's Las Leñas up north, but most of their ski areas are southern. And so that means the mountains aren't quite as high. So their snow quality or their snow pack, it's different. So you have super high alpine snow up here. And then over here, you have more woods. So there's actual forests, not too many, but there's actual forests. So there's trees and stuff. And then the snowpack can be a little denser, but it can also be incredible at times. Think of it more like Tahoe. So this would be a lot more like Tahoe. And the resort we're talking about right here, Cerro Catedral, if Palisades had a baby in South America, it would be Cerro Catedral. So, and a big grown-up baby, it's just as big as Palisades. So they're like the same size. They're like the same size. And if you think a little bit more open, so a few less trees, but a very similar snowpack, heavy terrain, you can go and you can see a giant condor. It's also next to a beautiful lake. So literally, if Palisades had a baby, it would be this, because now it has a lake next to it too. Absolutely beautiful views. The town of Bariloche is very well developed, and this is a very well explored ski area. So the lift systems are relatively modern for South American terms. There are T-bars and pommel lifts, but there's also chair lifts everywhere. I don't know. What else do we want to say about Cerro Catedral? Anything that you find important, Eric? You were just there last year.
I was there. Rough season for Catedral, but the terrain, I mean, looked insane. I'm sure during this good snow season it will be yeah. But like you were saying, the town's established. It's not far away from the town. Another nice paved road, and so there's a lot of options there, which is really nice. It's really, really cool. But popular one, definitely popular.
Cool. Well, I'm going to move on to the last resort on my list. Oh, one thing I want to say about Argentina too is Argentina season is their prime time is about the same time as Chile. It can go a little bit later. So prime time in Chile is going to be August and kind of dying out at the end of August. So August, that the southern hemisphere winter is a lot shorter than the northern hemisphere winter. It's about 3 months. So like when we talk about prime time, half a month can be the same equivalency as a month in the northern hemisphere. So the middle of August can be just prime time in Chile, but then you go to later into September and it starts to melt out pretty quick. Into Argentina, it can go a little bit later. So if you think about prime time, you can be a little bit later in Argentina sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that was it. I had another thought, but I lost it about that. Oh yeah, last thing, the Argentinian peso compared to the Chilean peso. If you were to compare the two, the Argentinian peso is a lot more volatile. So if you're planning ahead, especially going to Argentina, bring US dollars, cold, hard cash. Bring cash. That cash is going to work so much better than, and you'll be able to buy Argentinian pesos, but that cash is going to work so much better than trying to pull money out of an ATM. When it comes to Chile, Chile's super stable. You don't have to bring a lot of cash. You can pull money out of an ATM. You can work with credit cards. It's way more stable than Argentina is. But Argentina, if you come with US dollars, you're going to win. Last place I want to show you in Argentina this is a place that's on my dream list. I'm going to talk about a trip that we're doing later that's part of this. But this is Cerro Castor. I'm going to go back to our map. And Cerro Castor is all the way down here. And I've been wanting to go here my entire life. Since I knew it existed. I've been wanting to go here. This is the southernmost world. It's the southernmost place you can travel that has chairlifts. And it's the southernmost town that isn't like an outpost in Antarctica. So for all sorts of reasons, this is amazing. And I wish I could tell you a firsthand account. I don't have one. I'm just excited to share. So Cerro Castor has a pretty modern lift system. Hasn't been around that long. And when they built the lift system, it was built by a Western company to kind of make something pretty posh would be the right word. It's not as big as Cerro Catedral, but it is right on the ocean. You get ocean views from the mountain. If you think about maritime snowpack, it can be super good. If you think about places like Mount Baker has a maritime snowpack. So like Baker can get a ton of snow and that snow sticks to everything. But sometimes that snow is really wet. Sometimes it's not. But sometimes it's really, really wet and it sticks to everything. Gets a little colder and then you get deeper snow from there. So it has maritime weather, which means that it can be pretty fickle, but it can also be incredibly good. And that's what I know. And this is the shot that inspires me to makes me want to go to Cerro Castor. And there's a city right there, the end of the planet. And so if you're looking about a place to go, and the cool thing here too is it goes late. So you can it's still winter. It's Cerro Castor in September. It's still winter. So the further south you go, the longer it stays winter. Similar if you were to go up to Alaska, it's still winter in Alaska right now. So going on from there, that's all I have for South America. Anybody have any questions for South America? Yeah.
I want to say real quick that I actually got hired there right before COVID, or like COVID happened, but I got hired and then I couldn't go. So it's a place where like I do eventually want to go, and that's definitely like with you, Josh. It's like, at the end of the world, snowboarding, like that is wild. It's a wild thought.
I want to go so bad too.
Yeah.
After we went on our first trip, and then the second year I went on my own, and I said, oh yeah, I'm just going to go to Santiago and ski there and then check out. And then I'm just going to go to Ushuaia. Man, it's like I don't know, 8-hour flight or something like that. I have to fly through Argentina and change planes and catch a bus, and I didn't go. It's like it needs to be its own trip, I think, because there's so much to see and do and travel.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about before I break on. I got a couple of things I want to share, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about our 2 South America sessions that we have going on. So last thing I want to show you guys is it's the end. Nobody has snow anymore, and you got to find a place to go. My best experience of that was actually in China, in a town called Chengdu, which you might be familiar with, you might not be familiar with. But Chengdu, there are snow domes all over China, and they're big, and they have lots of good things. Though one of the things that really struck me about this particular snow dome was it similar to Mount Hood in the way that everybody there, for the most part, was there for progression. They were trying to get better. They were trying to grow as riders and as skiers. They have the area, the indoor dome has 2 different parks. So like a park with like medium features and a park with a lot smaller features. And it has a little mogul line, 1 chair lift and a couple of magic carpets that take you up around it. But as far as indoor that I've been to, this was the coolest. The other thing that also is in Chengdu is this jump park. So I have never seen anything so expansive in my life, but essentially it's a dry land slope. So think of scaffolding and jumps of every size, from huge to tiny. And every landing is an airbag where you can land and just like ride down a wet airbag. And it's actually a water bag, but it's pretty cool. They have a little mogul line there. Like I can go on here. They have one of their jumps. See what they show here. They have a little open slope, a little mogul line.
Let's go.
It's really cool. And it's all magic carpets. It's hot in Chengdu, so prepare for hot, which I guess is sort of like Mount Hood too. It's hot. Not as here by any means. But one of the cool things here is that repetition, that theme back to repetition. Same thing with the indoor spot. It's so easy to get rep after rep after rep on a jump or on a rail. They didn't have a lot of rails. It was mostly jumps. Another cool thing about this, but I guess not a cool thing, this is just a thing, is that whatever snowboard you bring to this JF dry ski big air place, that snowboard lives there. It's done because they're going to grind the edges off. So it's not going to have edges anymore. It's going to be a board specifically for the dry land slope. So be aware, if you go, bring a board that you like, but you don't like that much. It's not the board you'll take to the indoor slope.
The edges come
so that's
off.
what I have for destination.
The edges are taken off, or
no,
you're
they just
grinded.
They grind them down to round. They grind them down to round, but to a place where they'll never come back. Like you're not getting them back. They're done. But to be able to train there, if you're going to spend a while, it's totally worth it. Totally worth it. And so the last two things I want to show you, if you guys are interested, we are actually planning 2 trips to South America. We also have a multitude of summer snowboard camps in Mount Hood, which you can see right here. We're offering camps starting actually in May. So our first camp starts in just a couple of weeks, May 2nd. And then we kind of go on through there. We go back and we're hitting the FTC right where it starts with our park, pipe, and POW sessions. So it's kind of an introductory session to freestyle all the way up to advanced. We'll have access to the FTC, but it'll have the best snowpack we're going to have all summer. It was also added last minute. So a lot of the people that are doing sessions up there, they shifted the dates of the FTC based on snowpack. And so it could be pretty empty as far as an FTC, because a lot of people haven't planned for this. The next session we have is our performance park session. So all freestyle, that's the theme. And then this is a picture of Eric right here. I like this picture. It's one of my favorite ones. This is Vanessa's favorite session, the FFS. That's our end of summer session at Mount Hood. If you guys want to know more, please ask. And then our Chile sessions that we're hosting, we have one in Chile that goes from Nevado de Chillán to Tres Valles. So you actually travel across the country a little bit. And Nevado de Chillán, I didn't talk about it on this call, but it's basically a living volcano. So it smokes and it puffs and does all those things. It's not dangerous. It's smoking and puffing, because if it didn't, it would explode. But it's really cool. Really, really amazing terrain. Volcanic terrain, great snowpack. There's some trees there, so it's not totally void of trees. And it has some relatively reliable lifts, and it's just cool. And then from there, we travel to Tres Valles, which I went deep into, so I'm not going to go into anymore. That trip is 9 full days. So 8 days in the middle, an arrival and departure day, and has a big city day where we tour Santiago during the Feast of Assumption. Feast of Assumption. Consumption.
Feast of Consumption. I like that.
Feast of Assumption is a massive Chilean holiday. And so we scheduled to line up for our last day to be in downtown Santiago during one of their biggest holidays of the year, with parades and everything, all the festivities of a massive Chilean holiday. So not only is it a snow trip, but it's also a cultural trip. Our next one, this one's going to make CMAC really jealous. This is our Patagonia to Ushuaia tour. So this one starts in Bariloche. We spend 3 days riding Cerro Catedral. Then we fly. These flights are included. The in-country flights are included. We fly from Catedral to Buenos Aires. We spend a couple of days doing a city tour in Buenos Aires, where we get to check out old neighborhoods and kind of immerse ourselves in Argentinian culture. And then we fly from there to Ushuaia. And then Ushuaia, well, we talked about it. It's a dream trip. And we spend 3 days riding Cerro Castor. Potentially one of those days will be a tour day, like go hike somewhere or use split boards. We're not sure yet. It's really weather dependent and what everybody wants to do. But yeah, this trip right here, both of these, this session I know very, very well. One is a dream trip for me that I can't wait, and I hope it goes. And I hope you're there.
I need to find 3 to 4 skiers, and we go.
Yep, you do.
Exactly.
You do. Find 3 to 4
I just need 3 or 4 skiers. Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and I'm going to stop my screen share, and I want to thank you guys all for being on the call. I want to open it up to any last questions. Any last questions about summer snowboarding? What do we do when the mountain? Where do we go, and when do we go, and when do we not go? Any questions about that?
I have a question.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm excited with all the travels, but just like for work, I'm not too sure if I can. I mean, it will be like a last minute thing. But if I were to go to the gym, like, what exercise would you recommend to prepare for the next season?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. So I think in gyms, so when we train in the gym, I do this in the fall real hard. So I train really, really hard every fall to get myself ready for winter. And I spend an entire winter becoming asymmetrical and breaking my body down until the FFS. The FFS, I'm in my worst shape I'll be all year. And then I start training for the rest of it. But what I see, Mac and Eric, and anybody can tag onto this, but I do a combination of so cardio. I run. And if your knees can handle running outside, I highly suggest that, just because we usually push ourselves. Our cardio grows faster when we're outside versus indoors on like a treadmill or an elliptical. But if your joints in your body aren't really set up to handle like running on pavement repeatedly throughout a week, then I suggest like a 30-minute elliptical, targeting anywhere from like 300 to 500 calories if you can. That's kind of a good gauge about what you're doing. Then from there, weight training, but you don't want to isolate it to any one part of your body, because everything's connected. And so me personally, I'll do about 45 minutes of weights. And so that's different machines, so different resistance machines, and then actual free weights. But I try to get everywhere. So not just my core, which is a focus, but I try to get core, I try to get legs, and I try to get arms, because everything's connected, and we reduce our chance of injury when the muscles around our joints are strong. And especially as snowboarders, we tend to take upper body injuries more often than we do lower body injuries. And so if we don't actually work out our upper body, our chest, our back, our shoulders, those things, if we don't work out those muscles, it puts our shoulders at a lot of risk of popping out of bigger injuries that we could easily avoid. Same thing with our legs. So our knees are held together with the muscles around them. And if we can make sure that those muscles are strong, that's going to keep our knees healthy. And then, of course, the core connects everything. So lower body to upper body, the core, if we can have stability and flexibility in our core, and especially in our hips, that's going to serve us well for riding. And so going on to flexibility, I also do a couple yoga routines throughout the week. So like when I don't want to run and I don't want to lift weights, I'll probably do like a yoga video for 45 minutes to an hour. And I use that to keep mobility strong. And I'm the weirdest looking guy that I know that is as flexible as I am. So it does work. It does work. But yeah, the hip mobility is a big one. Core strength, upper body strength, and leg strength, of course, are big ones. And cardio is absolutely important, because you make good decisions when there's blood flow to your brain. And if that blood flow is impeded pretty quick because you get winded quick, you're not going to make good decisions, and you put yourself at risk of injury.
Thanks. Yeah. I thought it was more about the legs, but apparently it's everywhere.
No,
Everything.
It's all of it, yeah.
Whole body.
Whole body. Yeah.
And,
anything
and mind. You got to work on the mind too.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
Yeah. For sure. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. And I can't wait for the next one. I don't know when the next Tech Talk Tuesday is going to be, but it's not going to be as big of a break as the last time. I promise that.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.